Don't you know you need some sort of introduction? Here it is. Alright, so welcome to another video of Aaron's 1972 Datsun 510. So far on the video series, I have pulled the engine, and that was the last place we left. It's actually been a couple months since I did that. Turns out, whenever you gotta work a whole bunch, you don't end up making videos as often. So I actually had all this video for the past several months. I just finally got around to making them. So on this episode, we're going to go ahead and cut out the rust in the engine bay. So you'll see I've got really 4 spots of rust that work out to be about 6 patches. I end up making 7 patches total. So I've got the 2 right here along the radiator support that I cut first. And then I've got on the same strut towers, both passenger side and driver side, on the inside and or interior and exterior skin, I have rust I've got to cut out. So I use a 4.5-inch angle grinder that I purchased from Harbor Freight. It's a Hercules brand, and I go ahead and start cutting out those pieces. This is my first foray into welding body panels. I'll tell you that I was very, very nervous to do this cutting. I don't really have a whole bunch of extra to offer. I'll tell you that the Harbor Freight welder did okay. I will say that it definitely burnt through on several occasions, and I think with a better welder and maybe some smaller wire, it probably would have bonded a little better at the beginning. Thumbs up if you like having a ventilator that doesn't get you killed. I always love the time lapses whenever I'm removing things like brake lines, where you can see the fluid just sort of slowly pooling down. Some things to think about whenever you're doing this. Always look underneath for the brake lines or the fuel lines, so that way you don't end up accidentally cutting into a fuel line. You'll see I removed the fuel line from the passenger side inner fender, so that way I didn't do that. The spot welder that you see me, or spot weld remover that you see me using, is actually purchased also from Harbor Freight. It's a nice $6, $7 investment. It didn't work very well since I ended up having to cut both the inner and outer skins off of the inner fender. I thought maybe I could get away with only cutting off the outer skin, but it turned out that I did not, or wasn't able to get that lucky. Instead, I had to replace both pieces. Just so you guys know, the song today is so the song today is titled Amazement, and it's actually made by something called Freedom Trail Studio. Its genre is R&B and soul, so R&B and S, and then it's calm. I thought I would try to switch up the music a little bit. I've felt like maybe my last few videos have been a little bit low-key and maybe a bit too calm. Some notes here. I fiddled quite a bit with my welder, making for sure that I had the right level of speed on the wires as well as the temperature. You can actually see in some of the shots the welding wire actually moving. Big shout out to my friend Jeremy for coming over and helping me with this. In previous videos, I've had the help of my friend Jaime coming over to help me put in the or take out the engine, as well as Craig. So thanks guys for the help, and then you see the wife hanging out. Thank you Danielle for being so supportive. What I ended up doing whenever I was taking and making the metal pieces, I was actually taking them, cutting them out, and then I was using a 2x4 or just my leg and sort of just bending them over and getting them to the right shape so that way they fit the inner fender well, pretty well. Anyone out there that has like a plasma cutter, maybe give me a shout out. Let me know whether you think it's worth it, because the angle grinder for some of these big long flat pieces seems pretty good, but I'm a bit nervous whenever I go for maybe the smaller parts or maybe the more intricate cutouts that I'm going to end up having to spend way too much time carefully cutting these pieces out. The grinder wheel that I had from Harbor Freight was very slow about grinding down the different pieces. Sorry, my son's playing video games in the background. You're fine, Cooper. The flap wheels were much better at taking down the actual high portions of the welds. The problem is the flap discs get eaten up so fast, and so you have to end up buying a whole bunch of flap discs and having those handy, so that way you can do that. If I was going to do this professionally, I'll tell you, I'd have probably 3 to 4 grinders, one with a cutoff wheel, one with something else, a la Project Binky, like they have in their shop, where they have all their grinders on a grinder tree. Looks like a coat rack. But yeah, so you'll see me repairing the last little piece on the inner fender. That piece I ended up not cutting out enough, and you'll see this piece start out the size of a, 1.5 inch by about 2 inches, and then by the time I finish welding, I'm up to a solid 2 inches, and then like 3 to 4 inches, just based on trying to get tacked onto a solid piece of metal instead of just burning right through. So that's it. That's how I cut the rust out of the engine bay and replaced it with metal that I got from a buddy of mine named Daryl. Thank you, Daryl. If you like what you see, go ahead, comment, like, subscribe. I appreciate your comments, and you have a wonderful day. And if you got a build thread, maybe post it up in the comment section below. We'd love to see old Datsuns. Thank you.